Hi, James from the 11 Plus Tutors again. Today I'm going to be talking about 11 Plus writing traps. Believe it or not, in 11 Plus exams we see examiners lay down traps to catch kids. Kids that I believe, and the reason why I believe they do this, that have been highly tutored, and actually they want them to be tricked into writing their natural style. It's the way they would every day at school. And the way they do this is by giving them titles such as write a story about this picture. And kids will often get excited about a picture, or they'll say, explain your favourite day out ever. And kids will get excited about their best ever day out. Maybe when they went to Disney or something, you know, and they're really excited about it. And what they would do is they will lose sight of the goals, or the main goal, which is skills. What they'll start doing is rambling on and on and on about what happened and completely forget their tuition. And this is exactly the type of trap that's being laid down for kids. Because what we tend to see when kids get overexcited about the subject matter rather than the skills is, I went blah, 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 and then blah, 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 I blah, 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 I blah, 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 and then very, very basic year 2/year 3, beginning of year 3 writing. And what the examiners are really looking for are things like different sentence types, different openers, high level vocabulary, similes, literary devices such as similes, metaphors, personification. They've only got a limited amount of time to show what they can do. The examiner doesn't really care that they went to Disney. They don't care. They don't even care if it's true, what they're writing is true. If it's a recount, I can actually exaggerate the truth or make something up. But what must be there is the skills. The other thing I see happen quite a bit is what I call the play script approach, which is kids who get wrapped up in the conversational element of a story. So we tend to see this type of thing. And then I said blah, 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 blah. And then they said blah, 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 blah. And then I said blah, they said blah, blah. And by the end, you don't know who's saying what. There are very few skills, if any, available in that piece of writing. And it comes back to this again. They're not giving themselves the opportunity to shine in what is a very small, it's a small time period. You know, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, at the maximum 20 minutes in some 11 plus exams. But it's not long. So we need to keep sight of these things. It all comes back to this. Yes, the story is a vehicle, I would say, for them to be able to showcase their skills. That's what it is. The other thing, I did a intensive writing course over Easter, and I threw out an experiment, often experimenting with kids to see how they react to certain things. And I got them to plot a story. One thing that kept coming up again and again and again is really complex, convoluted storylines, okay? We teach kids that in a story there should be an introduction, a build-up, a main problem, a resolution, and an end. It's simple. If you think back, when I say keep things simple, I don't mean simple skills. That's not what I mean by simple. I mean this format. This format for stories has stood up for thousands of years. We can go back to the ancient Greeks, the Mesopotamians, you know, this has stood the test of time. If I think back when I was a kid, a very popular film was Lassie. You know, it's a classic story. Dog goes out into the woods, dog gets lost, dog tries to find owner, children find the dog, try and help, dog finds owner. Very, very straightforward, simple plot. Even the original Star Wars film is a very simple dichotomy between good and evil. A simple, you know, warlord who wants to take over. The young hero rises up, blows up the Death Star, everyone lives it. It's a very simple and classical plot, I would say, so we must stick to this. One thing I saw kids, you know, loads of subplots happening and people flying off to Mars and coming back and people going back in time and then come back, you know, and by the end we just don't know what's going on, and it just doesn't sound very good. It sounds very infantile, you know, it actually sounds more sophisticated if you've got a very simple story plot with the focus, the energy on the skills. That's where it seems a much more mature piece of writing. The other thing I see is we say stick to 1 or 2 main characters, and some kids get carried away. You know, they have 20 different characters in the story, and then Jenny said to Paul, and then Paul said to Frank, and then Henry joins it. And by the end, we just don't know what's going on, and that's a very common thing that I see emerging from kids' writing. So I say to kids, it could be you first person or third person, a main character, but just stick to 1 or 2 main characters. You know, you haven't got the time to go into having lots of characters, and probably you haven't got the maturity to deal with that anyway. So let's keep things simple. I hope you've enjoyed that. I think, you know, if I could summarize all of this in, you know, very quickly, it's that whatever scenario they give the kids, whether it's a recount or a story, it's merely a vehicle for kids to be able to showcase their skills. Kids seem to lose sight of that, especially they go through all of this training, tuition, and they get the example and they get something unusual in the title, and they start going off on a tangent, and that's what we don't want. We want the best for our kids. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please leave your comments below if you've got any questions or whatever, but also remember to subscribe and hit the notifications button. Thank you very much. Goodbye.